Okay, so now that we've worked all of the different elements, it's now time to work on our class project, which is creating this effect of boxes moving and the tilt shift compositing that we've seen in the previous video. So let's start right now. This video will be about the 3D elements and the interaction, and in the following video we will use our compositing to create a tilt shift effect and also our materials. So let's start by creating simply a box that we will be using. Right now, the values of the size, I will just input some values that I've used before, but we will need to adjust them afterwards. You will see exactly what I mean. We'll use simply a math function for that. Then simply using a null. So if we need to add any elements afterwards, we will be able to do it. Then we add our geometry and our camera. And I will add simple light right now. We'll use environment light and PBR afterwards. Right now, just to create the 3D elements and see what I'm doing. So render, and that's it. So we have our render right here and our basic setup. Let's now turn on instances and create what we need for our instances. So to create our instances, we will use a grid as we've seen before. So grid right here. And we're going to keep it to size 1, but we're going to change these values to 68 by 68. You can play with these values. It's just the values I chose in my sketch, but you can basically play with them as much as you want. As always, look at your FPS, so make sure it's not going. If you go very high in these values, you might see drop in FPS. Just watch out for this part. But for the meantime, this is quite okay. We can use 68 by 68. It should work very easily. Then we're going to use simply subject trap. So we will gather our information tx, ty, tz, and then we're going to add a null right here and drag this element as our parameter. And in translate, we're going to use tx, ty, and tz right here. So that's good. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to do in the box. The only thing I'm going to use that you might want to use too is use this value in size for our center. As you can see right now, the box element is completely centered, where 0 is in the middle. If you simply drag this element right here and input it as reference, you can see that right now my box is as the center, which is right now at 1, but what I will do is divide it by 2, and the center is at 0.5, so half the size. So right now the bottom of the element is on 0. So that's the only thing just I wanted to adjust. So now that we're good, let's finally play with this one. Oh yeah, also of course we have to change the orientation of the grid. So right now it's on XY plane. It's placed on ZX plane. That's it. Now we have our box and it's placed in the right position. I will change my camera by using viewer active right here. So it's going to be quick, should be quick. That's it. If I look, okay, I can't see anything because I can see any transparency. I'll just move my light higher so that I should be able to see the top of the elements. So that's it. Right now, it's on everything is on the same level. So of course, we need to add some noise. So to add some noise, we're going to use a noise noise top instead of noise chop. Why we're using a top is that the noise will be, all the calculations of the noise will be on the GPU instead of CPU. And in terms of performance, it's way better to use the GPU when you can. And this is a neat trick to use GPU to calculate the noise, but also to input it as instances. So I wanted to show you how to do this, but you could also use a simple noise chop element. But I will just show you how to convert this to a chop. So a noise element looks like this. What we're going to do is use our rows. So let's copy parameter and use them in the resolution, so to get exactly the same number of elements right here. So let's paste reference. You can see the arrow, and as you can see, the expression is very simple. It just says like use opaque grid 1 in parameter and rows, and I'm just going to paste it here and use calls instead, because maybe you could have a grid that's not square. So right now we're sure that it's good. And finally, what we're going to do is use our top to chop. As you can see, there's not exactly the same number right here. This is for a couple of reasons. First one is in the crop, we're only using row. So we're only using a row, which is not exactly what we want. We want to use rows and columns right here. So as you can see, now there's a couple of lines. This is because every single row is a new set of RGBA. So that's not exactly what we want either. So we're going to use a shuffle right here. So we can sequence all of our channel. So we can sequence channels by name. So right now we have a sequence of channels, which is exactly what we have here. And it's RGB. So we have to change a few things, because as you can see, it's also not the same values. Here we have around 2000, and then we have over 4000 right here. We have only half of our simples because we start in V at 0.5. I don't know what this is, why this is the default value, but if you place it at 0, you can see you have exactly the same number of frames, and in every element. So that's good. I'm just going to hide this one. You don't need to see all the mixed channels. And there I will also change one thing. I will be using only the R value because I don't really need the other value, since I will use the noise in black and white. So yeah, let's call it noise, actually. So that's good. Now we have noise. Let's finally merge everything. So I'm going to insert merge right here, so we can add some more channels right here. So now I have the noise channel, and if instead of TY I use noise, as you can see, there's a lot of elements. My elements kind of seem like they're moving. Kind of seem like they have moved, but there's a couple of weird things happening right now. So first, let's move a little bit of our camera right here. Okay, so that's better. So we can see that this actually is the effect we want, but of course it's not moving right now. But there's also a couple of weird elements. See, like these. Let's just add some transformation right here, so we can see it moving, and you will see better the couple of weird things happening. So I will use apps time dot seconds and divided by 10 because I don't need it to go very fast. Okay, so first thing, you'll see there's a big kind of weird stutter in our elements right now. This is because we've not changed the pixel format. We've changed our resolution, but not the pixel format. So pixel format is about the amount of information that we store in the pixel. What we need is 30-bit float, which is much more than 8-bit fixed, and you will see the movement will be way smoother. That's it. Now it's a much better movement. So you can see there's no stutter at all. Also, if I just pause it for a second, you can see some elements are going on top of each other. So to address that problem, what we will be using is also our columns and rows. And we're going to actually divide the size, which is 1 here, and divide it by the size of rows and columns. So this is what we're going to use right here. So I will paste the reference. But we have to divide it by -1. So it's the number of on the grid -1 because our grid is divided by this number, and you'll see right here. As you can see, it's divided. The grid is actually, here's how it's made, so you will better understand why we have to do -1. Let's simply show it wireframe. So basically, our division isn't our division right here is we have rows and columns, but of course, what the elements we're using is not the empty space, but it's the link right here. So that's why we actually need to divide this like that. And let's do the same for columns right here. So right now you can see elements are not are the same size and they're not going on top of each other. So that's good. Final thing that we're going to do right here in our noise, maybe change our seed so you can input the value you want. It's not very important, but of course, right now what we need to do is change the offset, so that's better. And maybe we'll have to change our camera afterwards too. And also play with the amplitude. So to create the effect we had before, where our noise went from 0 to certain values and back to 0, so to create a loop, we're going to use a pattern. This is a chop element pattern right here. And you can choose to use the type of function you want. I will stay with sine, but you can see we can use ramp, square, pulse, whatever you want. And here I will use me.time.end. So this is the length of our timeline. And we're going to move our phase to -0.75. So what this does is basically we take this part of our sine wave, so going from -1 to 1 and back with -1. So this is the value we want, but of course we need to change the amplitude. I will be using amplitude that I've used in the previous sketch, but you could use the amplitude you would like to. So this is our amplitude, and we will use this value in our offset as a reference, so it starts always from 0. And final thing we have to do is place this channel inside our amplitude. And there you go. As you can see, elements, let me just bring back our camera to something that's a bit better. All right. So as you can see, we have a moment where it's on 0, and we can see our box is moving, so back and forth. And that's it. We now have our animation. The next video will be about compositing and using PBR material and environment light.